We're taught something from the day we're born. Family comes first, and in many cases that's true. Family can be the safest place you'll ever know. But what happens when the people who are supposed to protect you become the ones causing the deepest pain? What if the place that should feel like home feels like a battlefield? The truth is, loving your family doesn't mean accepting endless emotional harm. Sometimes the healthiest decision isn't holding on. It's creating distance not out of hate, but out of self-respect. Here are 10 signs it may be time to distance yourself from a toxic family. Sign 1, they constantly make you feel like you're never good enough. One of the clearest signs it's time to distance yourself from a toxic family is that nothing you do ever seems to be enough. You work hard, you achieve something meaningful. You do your best, but instead of hearing, "We're proud of you," you hear criticism. They focus on your mistakes instead of your progress. Over time, you begin questioning your own worth. You start believing that no matter how much you accomplish, you'll never be enough. A healthy family helps you believe in yourself. A toxic family makes you constantly doubt yourself. Remember, you deserve to be around people who encourage your growth, not people who make you feel small every chance they get. Because the people who truly love you won't make you spend your life trying to prove your worth. Sign 2, they ignore your boundaries. One of the biggest signs it's time to distance yourself from a toxic family is when they refuse to respect your boundaries. You say no, but they keep pushing. You ask for space, but they make you feel guilty for needing it. They act as if your time, your privacy, and your decisions belong to them. Healthy boundaries aren't meant to hurt people. They're meant to protect your mental and emotional well-being. The people who truly care about you may not always agree with your boundaries, but they will respect them. If someone repeatedly ignores your limits, they're showing you that they value control more than your comfort. Remember, setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's an act of self-respect, because anyone who truly loves you will never expect you to sacrifice your peace just to keep them happy. Sign 3, they use guilt to control you. One of the strongest signs it's time to distance yourself from a toxic family is when guilt becomes their favorite way to control you. Instead of respecting your choices, they make you feel like a bad person for making them. They say things like, "After everything we've done for you," or "If you really loved us, you would do this." Slowly, you stop making decisions based on what's right for you. You start making them to avoid feeling guilty. Your happiness becomes less important than keeping everyone else satisfied. Real love doesn't use guilt as a weapon. It respects your freedom. It allows you to say no without making you feel ashamed. Remember, someone who truly cares about you won't force you to choose between your peace and their approval. Because love should never make you feel trapped. It should make you feel respected, valued, and free. Sign 4, you feel drained every time you're around them. One of the clearest signs it's time to distance yourself from a toxic family is how you feel after spending time with them. You walk into the room feeling fine, but you leave feeling emotionally exhausted. Not because you worked hard, but because every conversation feels like criticism, conflict, or emotional pressure. You may notice yourself feeling anxious before seeing them, or needing hours, even days, to recover afterward. Your mind feels heavy, your energy disappears, and your peace is gone. Healthy relationships leave you feeling supported. Toxic relationships leave you feeling drained. Your emotions are trying to tell you something your heart may still be struggling to accept. Remember, you don't have to stay in an environment that constantly steals your peace. Because the people who truly care about you should leave you feeling valued, respected, and emotionally safe, not emotionally exhausted. Sign 5, they never take responsibility for their actions. One of the biggest signs it's time to distance yourself from a toxic family is that they never admit when they're wrong. No matter what happens, it's always someone else's fault. If they hurt you, they deny it. If you confront them, they make excuses or turn the blame back on you. Over time, you begin questioning your own memories, wondering if you're the problem. But healthy relationships are built on honesty and accountability. Without those things, trust slowly disappears. A sincere apology can heal wounds, but when someone refuses to take responsibility, those wounds continue to grow. Remember, you cannot change someone who refuses to admit their behavior is hurting others. Because healing can only begin when someone is willing to take responsibility for their actions. Sign 6. They constantly compare you to others. One of the most painful signs it's time to distance yourself from a toxic family is that they constantly compare you to other people. Instead of appreciating who you are, they compare you to your siblings, your cousins, or someone else's children. No matter how hard you tried, it always feels like someone else is better. Over time, you begin believing that your worth depends on being perfect. You stop celebrating your own progress because you're too busy trying to meet impossible expectations. A healthy family encourages you to become the best version of yourself. A toxic family makes you feel like you'll never be enough. Remember, your value isn't determined by how you measure up to someone else. You were never meant to live another person's life. You were meant to grow into your own. Because the people who truly love you will celebrate your unique journey, not compare it to someone else's. Sign 7. They mock your feelings instead of understanding them. One of the clearest signs it's time to distance yourself from a toxic family is when they make you feel ashamed for having emotions. When you try to explain your pain, they tell you you're too sensitive. When you're hurting, they laugh, dismiss your feelings, or act like your emotions don't matter. After hearing this enough times, you stop opening up. You keep everything inside because you believe no one will understand anyway. Slowly, you begin to question whether your feelings are even valid. But the truth is, your emotions are not a weakness, they are part of being human. The right people won't make you feel guilty for expressing them. They'll listen, they'll care, and they'll try to understand. Remember, a healthy family makes you feel emotionally safe. A toxic family makes you feel like your pain is something to hide. Because the people who truly love you won't mock your feelings. They'll help you carry them. Sign 8. They only contact you when they need something. One of the strongest signs it's time to distance yourself from a toxic family is when they only reach out when they want something from you. The phone stays silent for weeks, sometimes months. But the moment they need money, a favor, or your time, suddenly they remember you. When you're the one struggling, they're nowhere to be found. Your problems are ignored, but your help is always expected. Over time, you begin to feel less like a family member and more like a resource. Healthy relationships are built on mutual care. People who truly love you don't only appear when it's convenient for them. They check on you because they care, not because they need something in return. Remember, you deserve relationships where you're valued for who you are, not just for what you can give. Because real family doesn't only call when they need help, they also show up when you need them most. Sign 9. You can't be yourself around them. One of the saddest signs it's time to distance yourself from a toxic family is that you no longer feel safe being yourself around them. You think carefully before you speak. You hide your opinions, you pretend everything is fine because you're afraid of being judged, criticized, or misunderstood. Instead of feeling accepted, you feel like you're constantly performing. You wear a mask just to avoid conflict, and little by little, you lose touch with who you really are. A healthy family gives you the freedom to be authentic. You shouldn't have to change your personality just to feel accepted. Real love doesn't require you to hide your true self. Remember, the place that's called home should never make you feel like you have to pretend. Because the people who truly love you will accept you for who you are, not for the version of you that's easiest for them to control. Sign 10. Your mental health improves when you're away from them. Perhaps the strongest sign it's time to distance yourself from a toxic family is what happens when you're away from them. You breathe easier, you sleep better, you feel calmer. The constant anxiety begins to fade, and for the first time in a long time, your mind feels at peace. At first, you may think it's just a coincidence, but then you notice the pattern. Every time you create distance, you feel more like yourself again. You laugh more, you think more clearly, and the heavy weight you've been carrying starts to lift. That doesn't mean you don't love your family. It means your mind and body are responding to an environment that has been hurting you. Sometimes distance isn't about punishment, it's about healing. Remember, protecting your mental health is not an act of betrayal. It's an act of self-respect. Because the people who truly love you should bring peace into your life, not take it away. Protecting your peace isn't betrayal. Choosing distance doesn't always mean ending a relationship forever. Sometimes it simply means creating enough space to heal. It's possible to love your family and still recognize that certain behaviors are harmful. Protecting your mental health doesn't make you selfish. It makes you responsible for your own well-being. Remember, you are not obligated to stay in an environment that constantly breaks your spirit. The people who truly love you will never ask you to sacrifice your peace just to keep them comfortable. Now I want to ask you, which of these signs affected you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story may help someone else realize they're not alone. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more psychology and self-improvement content. Because sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is choosing peace over pain.